About a decade ago, I had an eerie encounter that I'd like to share. I grew up on a large farm in Sweden, where we had a diverse array of animals, including dogs, cats, horses, and sheep. I was about 16 or 17 at the time, and my nightly responsibility was to feed the animals, as my foster parents needed to rise early for work. I wasn't particularly afraid of the dark, but I didn't relish it either. I always took our dogs with me for comfort, especially the oldest one who was quite protective. On that particular winter night, I set out to feed the animals with the dogs in tow. As I made my way down from the house, I gazed at two vast pastures in front of me. These pastures were usually vacant during the winter, as they were primarily used in the summertime. However, in the middle of the second pasture, I saw something that sent shivers down my spine. There was a shadowy figure, and it appeared to be human, but its height was utterly absurd. It stood as tall as the nearby wind shed, which was about 10 feet in height. I stood there, paralyzed by fear, not knowing how to react. Just then, Doris, the dog, began barking loudly and dashed toward the pasture. I always kept her close to me for safety, and she was incredibly protective. To reach that particular pasture, we had to circumvent a stable and a barn. Since it was dark outside, Doris vanished quickly into the inky blackness. Panic set in, and I started to run after her, shouting her name in a desperate attempt to call her back. Before disappearing from view as I rounded the barn, I stole one last glance at the mysterious figure in the pasture. When I finally arrived at the other side of the barn, I found Doris standing there, her gaze fixed on the spot where the tall figure should have been. However, there was no trace of it, not even footprints in the snow. To this day, I have no explanation for what I witnessed that night. Even as an adult, I remain reluctant to venture out alone in the dark. I'm convinced I didn't imagine it, primarily because of Doris. She was not the kind of dog to bark and rush towards something unless she had a genuine reason to do so.